Hey, this is Mark Washington, MTC Media. So the Raiders did what many people, including myself, had called for, which was to fire Josh McDaniels. Um, Mark Davis was really left no choice. The Raiders aren't going anywhere. He empowered McDaniels along with Ziegler to kind of run things their way and kind of Patriot way. So I hope we're to the point where, as I put in a prior video, can we stop with the Patriot way thing? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Yes, it worked in New England in that time for New England. It does not mean that you can port that culture anywhere, and the Raiders have tried it. So let me tell you the difference between Mark and Al, because I've seen this whole thing all day that people act like Mark and Al are interchangeable, and they're not. Al, especially near the end of his career, but he was always like this. He was so controlling. He wanted to be down the field. He wanted to make personnel decisions. He wanted to tell you how to coach. When the Raiders won, it's because Al's genius. When the Raiders lost, it's because you were incompetent and you knew you were going to take the blame, right? And in that, Madden got himself a Super Bowl. Tom Flores got himself two, but it was always a difficult environment to coach in. And if you look at Mark, Mark gave Gruden everything. He gave him the entire organization. Gruden ran McKenzie out to allow Mike Mayock, of all people, to come in, and they screwed up draft after draft after draft. And Mark would have stayed with him in that 10-year contract had all the stuff hadn't come out that Daniel Snyder allegedly leaked out about Gruden and his racist ways, which, by the way, some of his former players had tried to warn you of that. And no one wanted to listen. And then that stuff comes out. And that's why some of his forward players like, hey man, been telling you guys that for years and you guys didn't want to listen. Then even with McDaniels, you let them bring in Ziegler, and then they bring in, the ghost of Patriots past with all the players they bring in with Patriot ties, and they're going to have their guys to win their way, as opposed to saying, I have an organization here. This is where we want to chart it to go. Let's get on that pathway. Getting on that pathway doesn't mean you just bring in all your guys and you think you can bring New England to Las Vegas. You have to do what's best for that owner, for that owner's finances, and his finance, his vision for the organization. All that stuff counts. So it doesn't just automatically mean, all right, I got the job, I bring in my guys. And then when it fails, it's like, well, oh well. And then the next guy is stuck with your guys. The Raiders can't win the same way the Patriots won with Tom Brady. The Patriots can't win the same way the Patriots won with Tom Brady. You get this? Everybody who's trying this out, that Patriot stable, has gone to other organizations and has failed. And so what's next for Mark Davis? I know Antonio Pierce is taking over, but what next should be, how do I bring back this organization and what does the structure look like? You cannot act like Daniel Snyder in the sense of we have to have all these conditions to hire a decent coach because the organization has such a bad reputation that people would rather say no than take one of 32 precious jobs that essentially no one says no to. With the Commanders and Snyder, it was you had to give Ron Rivera complete power, basically power over everything. That has not gotten Washington anywhere. And luckily for Washington, they've sold the organization to the Harris Group. Don't know it's going to be better for worse. Everyone thinks it's automatically going to be better. Don't know it's going to be better for worse. What I do know is that I have more confidence that will be run in a professional way than what it was under Snyder. But getting back to Davis, so then the question becomes who should be the next Raider coach? Well, the one thing the Raiders don't need is they don't need a first-time head coach. But how do you avoid first-time head coach when you're going to be paying dead money to two coaches that you fired? How long is Mark Davis's money? Mark Davis, not Jerry Jones. Those years in Oakland where the Davises really didn't make money the way the others, Make money, money. See, those owners can act in that way. Jerry can act that way if he wanted to act that way. He act that way. The Davis's money isn't that long. And then you didn't get him to Los Angeles, which would have helped his money be a little longer. But you decided to fix that and give that with the Rams and the Chargers. So you can't hire a first time head coach. So you want to hire an experienced coach. And the first name that comes to mind is Jim Harbaugh. Michigan and Jim Harbaugh are almost done. The more that comes out about the sign stealing and everything else that's happened with Harbaugh over the years, he's a professional coach. He's had success in the NFL. He's had plenty of success in the NFL. Lost the Super Bowl to his brother. But that's a great place for the Raiders to start. And you don't give them total control. You find a personnel guy that he can work with. And that's the way to build it up. That type of thing. Build it right. And I know as much as people are impatient in the NFL, there has to be a certain level of patience as long as the train is going on the proper tracks. And if you put Jim Harbaugh in there and you get a decent personnel guy, that can happen. And maybe in 2 or 3 years you can change it, especially if in this quarterback-rich upcoming draft, if you get one of those quarterbacks and start with that. But no more doing it the Patriot way. No more giving guys 10-year, $100 million contracts and complete control over everything. No more. No more. No more hiring a coach and have the coach hire his buddy. No more. Run this like a professional organization. The Raiders fans deserve that. It's Mark Swashing with MTC Media.